Good morning, guys. It's Stephen here, back with another video on Thursday, the 31st of July. August tomorrow, which means the Premier League season is staring us down in the face. About 2.5 weeks until the season kicks off. And there's plenty that can happen between now and then. But today I thought I'd do a little opinion video on the latest reports that suggest that Manchester City might be about to pass on the opportunity to sign a right back in this transfer window. We could persevere with what we have, which is interesting. I'm sure will be reacted to very calmly across the world of the internet. I've just got out of the shower, so you have to apologise, the scruffy hair there, but it is what it is. It's very early. It's 8:30. It's not very early. It's a little bit early. But yeah, it is what it is anyway. That's where we're at. I'll talk about that today. I'm going to try and approach this quite reasonably as well in terms of, I want to remove a lot of my opinion from it initially and look at what it could mean in terms of like factually and stylistically and all that kind of stuff. And I'll go through where this report's come from, what does that leave us, who's the options, how can we play, and how it possibly could go from the best case scenario to the worst case scenario. Just try and be really balanced and calm about this because we're surrounded by intense reactions all over the internet, and I'm not sure you need me throwing more fuel on the fire or getting too giddy or getting too sad. Just somewhere in the middle, just a nice balanced reaction that covers all bases here. Don't forget, if you are enjoying this kind of content, please give the video a like and please subscribe. I did a video that a lot of people found funny yesterday where I talked about my ideal starting 11 I'd like to see at some point. Give that a watch if you haven't already. It's a good video with lots of different discussions and talking points in there. So I'll go over to the source of this bit of news, and it's from Jack Gorn over at the Daily Mail. Now, Jack Gorn, if you don't know who he is, he's one of the press pack in the North. Basically, he's one of the guys who tends to know a lot about Manchester City because he's a Daily Mail journalist. He covers Manchester City, and he has more than a know on things what are going on there. I think he's got the ear of someone at City or something like that. But I think it's very obvious that if Jack Gorn speaks, you probably should listen. So this is an article all about City's sort of transfers and the latest that's going on there. And I'll go over to the bit that suggests that we are going to sign a right back. So he says, this is what do they still need to do. We need a senior right back, of course. Absolutely. It says, who are they targeting? So this is the bit that's caused a lot of consternation on the internet. It said, City are suggesting incomings are done, saying that there are no plans for Tino Livramento at Newcastle United and there are no ongoing talks about a right back. Said it should be noted that there have been changes of heart with transfer business over the past few months. For instance, the noise and issues that City would prioritise a right back over left back, but then pivoted to Aït-Nouri from Wolves, which is true. It's very possible that City could come back, go for a right back if someone comes available on the market. But as it currently stands, it looks like we won't be signing a right back. It sort of aligns with what Guardiola was saying after the Club World Cup as well, when he said he thought the business was basically done. Now, of course, you signed James Trafford and Nipan since then, but I don't think Guardiola was thinking about a Norwegian wonderkid back then. And it feels like James Trafford is a very much opportunistic one based off the potential of Ederson wanting to go or Ortega wanting to go. And I don't think that was in Guardiola's plans to get a new goalkeeper, if that makes sense. I think when Guardiola said he felt like the business might be done, I think he was referring to general starting positions around the pitch and all that kind of stuff. And I think he was probably telling the truth within reason. We still could sign a right back, but what does this mean? Now, essentially, as the article pointed out here, if we don't sign a right back, we are left with these players here. Nunes, Rico Lewis, Manuel Akanji and Kusanov are all operate out there. Basically, we're left with these players, which is, it's fair to say that there's no top-class right-back there. No excellent right-back of experience, no excellent right-back that you can rely on 100%. And they've all got question marks over there. I think it's fair to say as well that they've all had good games at right-back. Kusanov maybe not in particular. He feels like very much a bit of a wild card there on that list. But Akanji famously, during the treble season, look, I know what you're already screaming at the screen. That's a long time ago. I'm adding the caveats to be fair. Akanji during the treble season played at right back and did quite well there. Sometimes I prefer Akanji at right back actually than I do at centre back. Mateus Nunes, I think actually did himself no harm whatsoever in his right back stints last season. And the fact that we're in this situation now is probably because Nunes actually played pretty well. And he's shown himself to be a pretty good bombarding, devastatingly powerful runner from right back. And Rico Lewis is at times looks very good at right back, mainly a couple of years ago as well. His form's dipped a little bit, but a very smart footballer. So there are options there. And I think it's fair to say that as good as these are, none of them are particularly nailed on, if that makes sense. You don't look at, in the way that you look at Eight Nori on the left, you think, well, he's going to start. In the previous year, Kyle Walker, well, he's going to start. You look at Reinders, well, he's going to start. It's very obvious to me that we've got, a question mark over the right back slot. But if these are the options that we're going to persevere with, I would like to maybe talk about, how that means we can play. And what our options are based off certain positions and so on. So I'll go over here. So I'll draw like a lineup. Ederson will, of course, be the starting, the keeper here. Ederson. Then Eight Nori is obviously going to play at left back. I think Vardiol and Diaz will be the centre back pairings. And say it's Mateus Nunes. If Mateus Nunes plays at right back, right? What that will mean is if Eight Nori does that, these guys are bombing forward. They're absolutely going to do that. If you got these two guys, you're not having one of them sit back because it's not in their game. We're going to sort of play this. That means the two centre-backs will be quite exposed, which I would expect means you're going to play three relatively experienced midfielders. I guarantee you now, if Nunes is playing, Bernardo Silva is also playing. I can just see Guardiola doing this. This will be Reinders over here. And this will be Bernardo Silva over here on this side, because Bernardo Silva is very smart and very mature, and Guardiola loves him. And like he did in the Club World Cup, he'll be covering this side here as Nunes gets forward. That is going to happen. You don't have to like that, but if Nunes is playing, I would love to see Nico Gonzalez maybe in that role over there, but we're not going to be seeing Shirky and Rodri and Reinders ahead of the centre backs if Nunes is playing, because Nunes is to get forward like this and as the players tuck in from wide. So this would probably be Doku or Marmoush. The thing is, why I prefer lineup build to the other one is because I can put like a hyphen to choose two players. I mean, it could be Marmoush too. That could be Foden, Shirky, whoever, but that's what I think will happen. I mean, you could see Shirky play here. You might do that, but I don't see it. That to me looks really exposed, and I just don't really see how Shirky will end up being in the front line if we're playing Nunes and Eight Nori as fullbacks, And because I think they're obviously going to get forward. I mean, against some of the bottom teams, I agree, Steve, you can do that. You can rest your bigger names, switch things up and so on. But I reckon you're not going to see this level of fluidity because Shirky will want to be up here, which leaves these four guys here. Guardiola is happy when he's a 2-3, i.e., this is these two guys here at the bottom, Vardiol and Diaz, and these three here. Guardiola likes a 2-3 or a 3-2. So three defenders and two midfielders. He likes that 5 back for a reason because it covers the channels. It stops us getting counter-attacked. And that's what he pivoted towards the end of last season. And we were much better defensively when he considered that. So I don't think Shirky, I think Shirky he'll be getting sort of wide stints and tucking in if Nunes and Eight Nori are both bombarding forward. I think that's going to happen. I think it'll be this. It'll be someone like that, and Shirky will be playing out wide and tucking in. And that'll be obviously Haaland up top. Where's your big man Erling Haaland? There we go. It's going to be something like that potentially. That could be Doku as well, Bill Moose. For Foden's not on the pitch there. Well, Ian Moran, I don't think Bernardo Silva is blocking the path here in this system. I think it's stylistically, you can't play Shirky there. I mean, it's one of those things where, even if Bernardo Silva wasn't there, he's not going to play Shirky. He'd play Kovacic or Nico Gonzalez. He's going to play a more defensive mind. I mean, I'd love it to be Nico Gonzalez, for example. I'd love to see the young lad there. But he's not going to play two defensive midfielders and attacking midfielder in this formation. It's one of those things, Guardiola, he likes to play 5 that can be more solid for a reason. And I don't think he's going to do that. So if you want Nunes bombarding forward, you're going to have to accept that likes of Foden and Shirky and Marmoush and Bob, they're all going to be in the front line, so that's how it's going to be. I can't see Nunes, for example, sitting back a little bit, It's just not how his game plays. If you play Rico Lewis, that'd be slightly different. So Rico Lewis, if he was in the team, I think Rico Lewis would more likely to... So I'll get Foden in here, for example. Rico Lewis would be more likely to tuck in a little bit. So there you've got your 2-3 there. So if Rico Lewis is playing right back, there you've got your 5 players. So Rico Lewis can play more central there, which allows... Shirky and Foden or whatever, or Savinho over here, this side or something like that to be on the pitch as well. It allows that, really. It allows Oscar Bob to be over there. Because Eight Nori is going to be up here, absolutely. I just don't see how I mean, obviously, Foden's not holding the width there. I'm just saying I'm putting him on the pitch. It allows for what it's worth, if Foden's on the pitch over here, he won't be holding width. These guys will be switching up and moving around, and Shirky will be over near him. Rico Lewis will still be here, but he'll be linking up with him. It'll be that kind of thing where they're moving around. But what I'm saying, Rico Lewis will not. If Rico Lewis is playing, and please don't argue with me in the chat about Rico Lewis cannot play right back. I'm showing options how he can play, regardless of what you think. I'm showing you if this player plays, this is how he will play. You know, so that's why I put Rico Lewis here, because if he plays, he's playing as a midfielder. He's playing as one of the three. 2-3. It's going to be that. Rico Lewis won't be up here. Nunes would be up there, as we know. Nunes would be up there. But Rico Lewis wouldn't, because Rico Lewis is not an overlapping fullback. So essentially the point I'm making, if Rico Lewis plays, he's going to tuck into midfield. And that's what's going to happen. So we've got one option as an overlapping fullback. It's Matheus Nunes. If Akanji was playing at right back, Manuel Akanji, he's another that would tuck into you know, you got your three centre backs there essentially. When Akanji is playing right back, you can also step forward and tuck into midfield too, like that. You have to have the 2-3 shape or the 3-2 shape. That's what Guardiola wants. Guardiola doesn't know what he's doing. He's just throwing stuff at the wall. Discord applications, I'm all due respect, man. This is where, like, you know, that's... I think you've lost your head. If the idea that Guardiola doesn't know what he's doing, Guardiola's the most successful manager of the past 20 years. Come on, man. Let's be a bit smarter on this. So I can't deal with all this stupidity in the comments here, man. Like, I understand people are frustrated, but let's just choose our words carefully and not be emotional for the sake of it. It's disrespectful, you know. That's what I would say. Maybe I just need to ignore the chat because people just want to get angry. Noah, thank you so much. Very sticky wall, exactly. Yeah, very sticky wall if that's true. If he's throwing shit at the wall, a lot of it's sticking. So that wall's covered in glue, man. How on earth did he win 6 out of 7 league titles? Who's auditing Pep? No one. It's all Cope. Right, I'm gonna. Yeah, I can't be arsed with you. You're obviously just a child. Noah, thank you so much for the super chat. Big up, bro. How's Ruben? He's great, mate. The other little man's good too. And keen for Rayans and JT. JT? Do you mean TJ? Unless I'm missing someone. Oh, James Trafford. Yeah, I thought you meant to John and Rangers. Yeah, likewise, mate. I can't wait to see him too. Thank you so much. The family are good, my mate. Much appreciated, Noah. But yeah, going back over here, like, if Akanji plays, it'll be there. If Kusanov plays at right back, it'll be the same. Kusanov will have the very similar role, but Kusanov won't be going to midfield. He'll be doing like that, basically. He'll be playing right centre back. He'll have a 3-2 instead. That's how it'll work. Now, of course, Shirky is not playing as a right winger there. I'm just showing you how different options. These players are all interchangeable, but that's how it's going to be. Now, I'm going to go through a few scenarios. What's the best case scenario if City persevere with these players? The best case scenario is we look at a situation where we've got a weakness at right back. If I'm rating our right back options, do I think Matheus Nunes is like a 5 out of 10 right back? No, I don't think he is. I think he's a little bit better than that, actually. When I think about his weaknesses, he does switch off. He has that sort of like tendency to... Bear in mind, you know, guys, I am not the biggest the Matheus Nunes fan as a midfielder. I think he was an absolute... disaster centrally, for being honest, but I think he is probably about a 7 out of 10 player based off the rest of the Premier League. Like, defensively, we go on a lot about his quality, but like Trent Alexander-Arnold is probably the worst defensive right back I've ever seen. Not ever seen, but he's terrible. Like, he's genuinely terrible. He's a terrible defensive right back. Did that stop them win the league? It didn't, you know. Now, there's the caveat there. Of course, there's caveats. But what I'm saying is, the reason Trent Alexander-Arnold it was enough for Liverpool to win the league is because he was great going forward. Trent Alexander-Arnold is better going forward than Nunes, of course. But can Nunes also be very effective in a system that allows him to get forward? Yes, he can be. And as B said in the chat there, the best defence is a good attack. The best case scenario is Matheus Nunes gets it right back. And Matheus Nunes, and I'll build a team now, build a team that we all would probably happy to see. You know, something like a team of quality like this. I know Foden's not a right winger, but I'm putting Foden in the team for a reason. The best case scenario is we go nice and attacking. Foden plays sort of there. Shirky tucks in a little bit. Nunes goes forward. Foden's tasked with actually doing some defensive work. And at that point, Nunes is overlapping. As long as we control the midfield and we keep the ball, Manchester City sides have been at the very best defensively when they keep the ball. Now, I think if Nunes works, if it works that Nunes is playing a right back, it's because everything else is fixed. It's because Reinders and Rodri are a massive upgrade in what we had in midfield last season. It's because they can run. It's because Nori allows us balance and energy. It's because the press has come back, because Pep Linders has got this Manchester City side running again. It's because everyone is feeling confident. And when you're feeling confident and playing good football, teams are cautious and they sit back more. And City's weaknesses, and let's be honest, there's been seasons where we've had plenty of weaknesses, but we've still found a way around them. I'm going to reference the season when we had Zinchenko or Del playing left back, and people would turn around and immediately go, yeah, but we had peak Kevin De Bruyne, we had peak David Silva or whatever, blah, 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 etc. That's very much true. Do I think we need peak Kevin De Bruyne and peak David Silva to win the league this year? I don't think we do. I think if Rodri comes back anywhere near his best, if Foden does, if Shirky carries on to be as special that we know he could be, then I think, and Haaland, starts scoring goals at the same rate he did when he first joined. Diaz finds anything close to his form. Lots of ifs there, but it's possible because confidence is infectious. Then I think that could be enough to challenge, because I don't think as good as Liverpool are, as good as Arsenal are, I still don't think that this Liverpool side, even with all the players, is good as the Liverpool side from 3 or 4 years ago when they were challenging. I don't believe they are. I know you can turn around and point to, they signed Wirtz and blah, 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 etc. I still don't think it is as good as the Mane, Firmino, peak Salah. I don't think it is. I think that they were way steelier. I think they were harder running. I think they were smarter, organised, and more intense. The Liverpool side looks really good, but I'm not convinced they're any better than that Liverpool side, And there's lots of ifs and buts. Exactly, Craven, there is in the chat. But guess what I'm saying is I'm talking about the best case scenario. The best case scenario here is everyone's confident. And I think Rodri and a renewed energy and a renewed vigour and focus and all the new signings could see a very confident Manchester City. And at that point, you'll be confident. You're doing less defending because you keep the ball more. And Nunes can concentrate on his strengths, which is getting forward, overlapping and causing a lot of problems going forward. And at that point, if we're proactive and aggressive, then that's how I can see it works. The worst case scenario, of course, is that nothing changes. Worst case scenario is that we continue to be exposed, injuries pick up again, we look a little bit vulnerable on the counter, teams getting behind us constantly and we can't recover because we're far too open. If we're far too open, that wouldn't be Nunes' fault. That would be the system's fault at that point for the space. If Nunes is bombarding forward like this, for example, if Nunes is getting forward like that, up here, it has to be on the midfielders and the shape behind them to cover that. That's not Nunes' fault. Nunes' biggest problem sometimes is when he switches off. If he cuts off the switching off, and the best way to cut out the switching off moments is to give him less to do defensively, then at that point, you don't have to worry about Nunes too much defensively. If you let him be up here, concentrating, getting forward, and you make sure there's a solid 5 behind him, which is why, unfortunately, and you guys hate this, Guardiola is going to lean on Bernardo Silva. I would hope it'd be Nico Gonzalez for what it's worth, but he's going to lean on Bernardo Silva, because Bernardo Silva is smart enough to cover this right-hand channel. At that point, you've got a City side that can cover the issues, but that's why, in my opinion, if Nunes is going to play, it can work, but the worst case scenario is that it doesn't. We see the same issues as last season. It's one of those things where, I think this idea... Sorry, I've got my son's toy below me. Like this little thing here. I keep catching it with my foot because Reuben put it below my feet the other day. Piano's playing. But I think everyone's acting like... And I think I understand the fears, but I think this idea that because we don't sign a right back, the whole season's over, I think that is emotional. I think it is. I think it ignores the idea for great potential improvement across the pitch everywhere, and I think that's very possible. And I think the idea that Guardiola's side will make the same mistakes as last season with the new coaches and the new players, I think it's a little bit naive, And the thing is, I expect everyone will be better this season because a lot of players have moved on who don't want to be there. And the energy, I thought the energy, even though it wasn't great against Al Hilal, Juventus was good. First half, Al Hilal, great. Second half, we lost our confidence and so on. But I'm expecting it to be a very different City side than last season because the football we played in the Club World Cup was very different. Obviously, it's work in progress, but it won't be the best City, the same City side. So I don't know. I wouldn't have said it's a disaster, mate. I would never have said it. I don't really speak in that. If you said you don't sign a right back, but then you didn't say that we've also signed multiple players, Nori, Reinders, Shirky, Rodri's returning, James Trafford coming in. I don't think, the naivety is thinking that anything will dramatically change without shipping out Pep. I don't think so, Chris. Like, I think we're all being very emotional. I think we are being very emotional. Let's see what happens. I think giving Guardiola the benefit of the doubt, the greatest manager to ever do it, is also fair. I think it's unfair to suggest otherwise, is what I would say. I think a lot of people have been caught up in the negativity. It's one of those things where you had a bad season, absolutely, and I understand Guardiola's attached to certain players, and if that happens, sure. But I think some of us have genuinely lost our heads a little bit in terms of we've got far too down in the online negativity as if we're the worst team ever. We had a terrible season. We still managed to finish third last season by our standards. Rodri will make a massive difference to see. I still argue that Rodri was available last season. We've probably challenged for the title despite all the deficiencies because Rodri is that level good. I'm not saying it will happen, but I think this idea that the whole season is a write-up because we might have to play a 7 out of 10 level fullback, I just don't buy that. There's been weaknesses in City sides before, and we found a way around them. Doesn't mean that is the case, and it could be a big issue. But I just don't. I think if we're going into this, how is Arsenal having to play Noni Madueke or whatever he's put out? I can't pronounce it. At left wing, any difference to playing? I don't think he's any better a winger than Nunes is a better a right back. And there's still question marks over some of Liverpool signings. Like, Frimpong could be exposed intensely at right back at Liverpool. Couldn't he? Like, Frimpong is great going forward, but defensively, that lad is poor. In fact, one-on-one, I'd prefer Nunes than Frimpong. So I guess the point I'm saying is, we get so bogged down in our own weaknesses that we forget that everyone else isn't perfect. Madueke's going to start, Yana Moran. He's going to start, mate. He's going to start for them a lot, And, well, who else is at left wing then? Trossard, Martinelli, that's the thing is, Nunes can be very rash, absolutely. But what I'm saying is, I think, his attacking qualities are better. You say he's putting too much emphasis on his attacking qualities, but I'm basing it off of the Premier League right backs. There's not actually that many great right backs in the Premier League. Who's a 10 out of 10 right back, There isn't any in the Premier League, I would argue. There's no 10 out of 10 right backs. There's no world-class right backs in the Premier League. There isn't any. So it's one of those things where, based off the other standards, Nunes is not a 10 out of 10 right back. He's a very good attacking wing back, but he's not 10 out of 10, is he? Anyway, I don't think Nunes is not even a 6 out of 10. Nunes would start for 15, 14 teams in the Premier League. So that means he's better than the vast, at least 6. It's one of those things where we are underestimating massively. I think we're being a bit harsh. And I'm a big critic of Nunes, but I think Nunes is very obviously very effective at getting forward. He's got weaknesses, absolutely, but I think we need to be realistic here about the level. And I think, can he be carried if everyone else gets better? Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things where, leaving ourselves short in the window once again. I've seen this before. I've seen it before, and I've seen us win the leagues anyway. So, look, one bad season last season, and everyone's throwing the toys out the pram is what I will say. Is be calm, try and be realistic, and say, here's a hypothetical for you. If Vardiel and Diaz just hit up and a great partnership, if Aït-Nouri is the great player that we think he is, if Rodri and Reinders become fantastic, if Shirky and Foden hit it off, if Haaland finds his form again, if Doku looks better as he did in the Club World Cup, if Oscar Bob comes back and looks great, if Marmoush carries on scoring goals and everyone looks good, are you going to tell me that the whole team falls apart because Matheus Nunes is only a 7 out of 10 fullback? I'm sorry, I don't believe that. The best case scenario is that we have slight weaknesses, but Nunes, we can allow for them. We will see. We'll see. Guys, let me know how you feel about it. I don't think it's great. I think it's poor that we haven't signed a right back and that we don't. But I don't think the whole season hinges on it. I just don't think it does. I just don't believe that for a second. People would be happy if we signed that Wesley fella because he's a right back. He's not better than Nunes currently. Dumfries is not demonstrating loads better either. It's one of those things where I just think we've probably slightly exaggerated on our head the standards of what we currently got compared to what we've got. Someone just want anyone, Guys, thanks for watching this video. Vanderson as well. I've seen that Vanderson fella. He's so raw. He's clearly so raw. I don't see how, it's one of those things where I just don't see how he's demonstrating better than what City you've got right now. Thanks for watching this video. Love you all loads. In a bit, we'll crack on.